as if a furnace door had been opened. Alarms shrieked. People cried out with the awful recognition of what had happened to them. Lindow had one thought. He must shield himself from the glass still falling from the buildings above. He tried to move his right hand, but it was held by something heavy. He shifted a little and freed his left arm, which was locked behind his back in a half-Nelson, then wrapped it across his face. But it wasn't his face. Then he understood. He hadn't been blinded at all, but some cloth had fallen over his face and covered his eyes. He pulled at the material and found himself looking up. It was dark, and the air was filled with smoke and dust. In the night sky, quantities of paper flew on the thermals from the fire. He understood now that it had been a bomb, and somehow knew it was the bus that had exploded, although he hadn't actually seen the explosion and couldn't see the bus because he was facing the other way. Then the pain came, coursing from the back of his skull to his forehead and down into his eyes. He squeezed them tight and felt his stomach heave. He was going to be sick. He had to get up, had to get away. He turned his head from the bollard and checked through an inventory of his senses. He wiggled his toes. They moved. He felt his chest gingerly with his fingertips, like a blind man reading Braille, and progressed down to his stomach and groin where there was a horrible sensation of dampness. He reached the belt of his trousers and touched a viscous mess. Christ, he thought, the explosion had opened his stomach. He knew injuries like this confused the nervous system, knew that his brain would not make sense of the wounds for a few moments. People got out of car crashes with injuries like this, walked a few paces, then fell down dead. These would be his last conscious seconds. This was it. Everything he so desperately wanted to do, the things that he thought only he could do, would never be accomplished. He readied himself for the final convulsions. Nothing came. Then he dabbed again at his stomach, probing a little deeper into the mess. There was no pain at all, and, bafflingly, no wound either. He heard a groan, a thick, guttural word he couldn't make out. It was a woman's voice. She had fallen across him, pinning his right side to the ground. Her tunic had flown up and covered his face, which was why he had the smell of perfume in his nostrils. Her head was very close to his, and very still. "You hurt?" he said, and shifted his body so that she slid from him onto the stone and let out another groan. "You hurt," he repeated stupidly. He knew then that the blood pooled on his stomach was not his but the woman's, and that she must be very badly injured indeed. He moved again, lifted his head and strained to look at her. It was the girl he had been watching by the tube entrance. He sat up, propping himself against the bollard, and with his right hand reached over to draw back the hair glued to her face. There was an earphone, which had come detached from the tape player. He pulled away and looked at her face, saw a mass of blood on the right side with white flecks glinting in it. He thought he'd wipe it for her. Then he understood that there was nothing behind the blood. No face. What he was seeing were her teeth, moving as the girl tried to cry out. Further down her body, the dress was stained and shone wet in the light that still came from far inside the airline office. Beneath her rib cage was a very dark patch. He squirmed and tried to call out, but his voice had gone. He coughed and then shouted again, hoarsely. No one came. He looked about him. Down the street, about 70 yards from where he lay, the bus was on fire. He could feel the heat on his face. Flames shot from the engine and heavy black smoke spilled from the windows. Between the billows of smoke, he could make out a rupture along the flank.